Greetings, people of Earth. Welcome back. My name is Jax, and I have vices. Um, for the duration of this video, I will be referring to these vices by other names. So, campfire. Campfires produce what? Yes. Uh, Gardening, if you can think if you're weeding, if you're doing that sort of thing. So in an attempt to not get demonetized, I'm going to talk about these vices in that sort of way. For whatever reason, we're fine with alcohol and talking about drinking like that. But just know if I talk about gardening or campfires, you will understand sort of what I'm talking about. I grew up as a kid who looked at people who had vices and kind of was like pretty judgmental. Like I was pretty hard on people that enjoyed a campfire. I was really hard on people that enjoyed gardening. And I think it had to do with like my upbringing in a small rural environment. My parents were pretty conservative when it came to all of that kind of stuff. Even like going out dancing, that sort of thing, that was never a thing. I've never seen my parents like over drink and that sort of thing. I've sort of never experienced that close-handed. My parents had other vices or other hobbies and interests that really consumed their lives, and they were busy people. So I just didn't really notice that kind of stuff. As I got older, I realized that everyone has vices, basically. Every single person has something that they know that isn't great for them, but after a long day at work or a stressful morning or dealing with situations, whether it be family or friends or health problems, I learned that everyone has kind of things that they do that are really comforting. And it could be even just watching a lot of TV at the night, like at the end of the day. And like in my early 20s, going through university and high school and all of that kind of stuff, I experienced a lot of these vices. I experienced a lot of friends and close people in my life who had them, and it really changed my perspective on them. I kind of believe now, and this might be a bit controversial, but I believe that everyone has a vice, even if you are an absolute teetotaler, you probably have something in your life that isn't the greatest for you, and it could be like buying a whole box of chocolate chip cookies and eating them all in one, or that sort of thing. And I used to be really judgmental about people and their vices and their, things that they became addicted to and really into. And now I don't have that judgment. I understand that everyone has something, whether it is a campfire or gardening or whatever it might be, that people partake in as a stress relief, as something that is just makes them feel good. And yes, you have to control them. Yes, you have to try and balance it with working out or having some kind of physical exercise, whether it's going for walks or walking the dog or whatever it might be. But you want to try your best to moderate them and control them. But at the end of the day, I think everyone has one. And I know this channel is kind of dedicated to positive living and healthy mind, healthy body. But it's really hard to be like an absolute healthy person. I know people who are absolutely addicted to going to the gym, taking creatine and supplements, and to the point where it is kind of detrimental on their bodies. A lot of bodybuilders have the whole bulking phase and then cutting down phase where they cut all the fat off of their bodies. And that just like, I don't know, is that healthy? Probably not. Does it get you a shredded body? Yeah, sure. But at what extent does that take on your heart and your metabolism and your carbs intake, your cholesterol, all of that kind of stuff? And I've really lost that judgment. I don't judge people for having a campfire, in all honesty. Once in a blue moon, I totally get it, and I'm right there with them. Gardening's a little bit different. I'm not into that. I love actual gardening, but the gardening we're talking about is a little bit different. So I don't know. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this and your advice, that sort of thing. I know quitting some of these things can be really difficult because they are really pleasant and your brain wants to just get that hit of endorphins or dopamine or whatever it might be. But I think having that like really strong judgment is quite detrimental to your social life, to the people you interact with. If you're going to be the person nagging your friends to stop doing it, I don't really think you're going to be the change. Change comes from within. Change comes from a genuine place where they realize, you know what, this is either really expensive, taking up too much time, not great for my health, my lungs hurt, my body doesn't feel great, my skin is not great, whatever. And it could be as simple as drinking too much soda. It's really funny how we weigh these things differently in society. Like I said before, YouTube has no problem with me talking about drinking, and it's one of the most detrimental things to your kidneys, to your health. A huge amount of, I don't know how to say this without getting like demonetized. A huge amount of the violence in society is because of drinking, and yet it's totally fine to talk about. I can talk about alcohol and all this kind of stuff, and it's a socially acceptable vice. In the same way that certain vices like vaping and other things like that are a total like, no, you really shouldn't show it on camera, don't talk about it, whatever. So our society has chosen specific vices that are acceptable, that are okay to have, that, as long as you're functioning, as long as you get up in the morning and go to work, there's really no problem with it. Never mind the repercussions of it. And, you just look at when people get behind the wheel after drinking, that has a huge impact on our society. I've been personally impacted by it several times in my entire life. And that's not a long life comparatively. So it's really funny that we have this kind of judgment, and certain people will obviously have a sensitivity to it. If your parents or if you grew up in a situation where one of these vices was sort of a central problem to your growing up, you might have a very different perspective, and maybe you go for coffee with somebody and they also have this vice, and that's a total turnoff, and you're just like, know what, I can't do that. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with deciding like, this is my limit. I have seen the end of the road problems that come with this particular activity, and I'm not going there again. I refuse. A lot of people never touch a drop of alcohol because of their parents and how their parents had a certain relationship with it. But like I said, as a kid, I was super judgmental of anyone who had like a strong vice, or even if it was just like a daily unwind ritual or whatever. And now I don't. I understand that it is a hectic and incredibly crazy life. I still have a very strong perspective of longevity and living right and trying to be as healthy as possible at whatever age you are at. But everybody goes at some point. And whether it is at 92 or 74 or 58, there is this unavoidable fact that we go. We disappear and go off somewhere else, if that's what you believe, or we just go. And to really make it like the central focal point of your conflict with other people is very unwinnable. It is an unwinnable fight to decide like, Mom, you gotta stop that. Like it's blah, 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 blah. Like I said, change really comes from within. It is really, really hard to try and enact that change onto someone else. And typically people take it the wrong way and get very defensive. I've always been amazed at how defensive people are over their diet, over what they eat. And when you tell someone that like margarine isn't really healthy, it's a concentrated glob of compressed and heated seed oils, and they're heated to an incredible temperature and they produce toxic fumes, and that resulting thing is so disgusting that they have to flavor it and they have to get rid of its scent because it smells like, you can Google what margarine smells like when it's just made. But if you tell someone, hey, putting margarine on your toast is really bad for you, like it's really horrible for your cholesterol, it's not heart healthy, it was a total lie, you can look into all the science you want. But I've had several people get very defensive when I tell them the history of margarine and why it was created and how using essentially backdoor government deals. Margarine was allowed to be called heart healthy, has actually led to a huge uptick in heart disease. People don't want to hear it. They just want to put easy spreadable margarine on their toast, on their waffles, on their pancakes, and move on with their day. And so I don't bother. I used to be like super militant about it and being like, hey, just go for butter. It's fine, you know? But no, people don't want to hear it. That's fine. I'm not gonna talk about it. And so that's kind of the relationship you have to have, you know? I hate this saying that the Christian right uses, which is love the sinner, hate the sin. I hate that. I think it's an excuse to be all kinds of rude and dismissive and incredibly condescending. But in this kind of regard, it's similar, which I'm very annoyed about because, again, it's a dumb saying. If you're someone who says that, maybe check yourself, because it's very condescending. It implies that you know everything and that you know exactly where we go at the end of the trip, but you don't. So that's my little 2-cent tangent. But I think at the end, you just have to lead with compassion and love, which seems like the advice that it always comes back to. Lead with love and compassion. And, you know, if someone reaches out to you and asks you, hey, what do you think about, you know, me quitting this, or, you know, putting the campfire out? Yeah, encourage, be supportive, be there for them, you know, just listen, hear them out, and then give them your honest opinion. But again, change is enacted from within. It's from within us. People don't change just because of a situation or an externality. It has to come from within. This idea needs to be self-generated, and judging people and being a little Puritan, feeling like you are so holier than thou, only makes people want to go into the thing more. You know, you're only causing more conflict in their life, and then in order to de-stress, what are they gonna do? They're gonna go to their vice. They're going to go to their thing. Lastly, my advice for someone who looks at one of these vices, looks at one of these things in their life that they really don't like, think about it. Really, really think about the cost of it, whether it is financial, emotional, physical, relationship-wise. Think of the cost of whatever vice you partake in, and then ask yourself, maybe I don't need this, you know? If you have so much caffeine in a day, maybe reduce, maybe give it a try. Don't make it this big thing that you have to do and tell everybody and say, you know, yeah, I'm cutting out caffeine. It's just really bad. Its effects on me are not great. I don't like who I am when I'm on it. Just do it. Give it a try. See how it works out. And, you know, if you have to find a different vice that's healthier, go for it. There's plenty of advice on the internet and in books and in research about, you know, the vast majority of people who successfully quit a vice end up picking up another one. You know, maybe you put the campfire out, but you go for coffee instead. You know, you just use that as a good switch, which is marketably more healthy. You know, we can't all live to be 122, and frankly, not all of us want to. So that's my advice. Hope this didn't get demonetized. Let me know what you think. Leave your comments, suggestions, stories about beating a vice or getting rid of one or replacing one with another. If you have any good strategies, I'm sure people would love to hear them. Everybody is different, but maybe somebody's like you and needs to hear a good solution in order to quit what they're trying to quit. So that's my advice. Lead with love. Don't judge. We all have something. I guarantee it. No, I've never met somebody who didn't have some kind of obscure vice that worked for them. So thank you so much. I hope you're having a beautiful day, month, year, century, millennium, whatever you're having. Hope it's amazing. And as always, I will talk to you guys tomorrow.